Hey, welcome to Outsmart Your Guitar. Glad you could join us. Today is part 2 in Improve Your Swing. As you saw and learned in part 1, playing a swing rhythm properly is critical to getting a swing tune working right. And so when you're playing a lead part, you have to pay attention to many of the same elements. So we're going to walk you through some exercises to help you learn to establish those elements the way they belong, right? And so let's just get to it, and be sure to like and subscribe to Outsmart Your Guitar along the way. I mentioned in the intro that there are commonalities between the swing rhythm and the swing soloing or melody playing, and that main commonality is the triplet feel. So we want to make sure that you're well established there, right? So in exercise 1, while this may seem a little repetitive from last time, you want to do this anyway to get yourself oriented in the triplet feel. You got a 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a. So the exercise is to turn on your metronome, count it out, and then get it right, and then begin to play the notes. Here's an example of what I'm talking about. At 50 beats a minute. 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a 1. In this way, you'll really get yourself thinking in the swing mindset, which is a triplet feel mindset. Okay, so pause the video, play through this for a minute just to get yourself oriented, because I don't know what you've been doing previous. You might have been on something totally different or not even playing music. So now we want you to get your mind oriented in the way it needs to be framed so that you can continue and really get the best benefit. All right, so pause, practice this for a couple of minutes, and then restart the video to keep going. All right, exercise number 2, you can see we've removed the middle note of each triplet. And so as when you're playing rhythm, you're hesitating after playing the beat stroke. So it's 1 and the is an upstroke. So 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a. And this establishes the swing or shuffle feel that we're going for. Hard realities. Okay, so first what you do is count, then play, and then sound the notes. Here at 50 beats a minute is exactly the exercise you'll do. 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a 1, a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a 1. Just like that for, I don't know, a couple of minutes. Really get your sense of swing happening and get the feel right. Get those notes right where they belong. You've got that playing and then the hesitation and then 2 notes back to back, the and the next beat note. And you really want to get that right where it belongs. So make sure you're counting your triplets smooth, because that gets the second note you're playing of each triplet right where it belongs, right on the heels of the next beat note. All right? So pause, practice, then restart, and we'll keep going. Okay, I just have a geek moment for you here. I know, it's like, I don't usually interrupt a lesson for this, but you gotta kind of hear this. I have this metronome, it's called Modern Metronome. I'm not an endorsee. They don't pay me or compensate me. This is me just sharing something with you that's really cool. Modern Metronome, free on Google Play. Now, the really cool thing here is, get it up there, you have the time signature, 4/4, but over here then you have a quarter note or whatever. So I pressed on that, And down here, it shows something really cool. In triplet mode, so you have a triplet over here, but in triplet mode, you have the first and the third note of the triplet sounding out here. So you then go and you'll notice the light is blinking 3 times per beat, right? 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and right? So if you're still struggling with getting your triplet feel happening, Modern Metronome has the solution. First and third note of the triplet sounding. And it's really cool. I just discovered this. I've used a lot of different metronomes. This is the one I settled on, and I just discovered this feature just a moment ago while filming this lesson. And I thought, I need to share this with you, okay? So there, I'm done geeking out on you. Let's get back to the lesson. On screen is the pentatonic minor scale, here presented in the key of G, the key we've been working in and will continue working in. So, pause the video, take a moment to get yourself comfortable playing the scale up and back, all right? And then press play and we'll get to the meaty stuff. Now what you want to do is you want to swing it, right? So I've got 1 octave here, and I've written it out with triplet eighths, and the middle note is silent, right? So 1 and 2 and 3 and Now, go ahead and play that for a moment. All right, so now we have the pentatonic minor scale, just as we saw before, but you'll notice up in the upper left-hand corner, we've added the metric modulation. So this is no longer straight eighths, it is now swing eighths. All right, so set your metronome up and count 1 and 2 and 3, or you can go 1 and 2. It's up to you how you want to count this. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 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 1. If you miss a note, that's okay. You have to play through mistakes, right? So I missed a note, but I just kept going in time so that the mistake wouldn't fluster me and get me out of time and out of sync with the music. So that was a good example of how playing through your mistakes or flubs is very important, to keep yourself grounded in where you are in the music, knowing precisely where you are. All right, now, as I geeked out a few minutes ago, I'm putting my metronome on that first and third note triplet thing. And so if you get this metronome, do this. Or if your metronome can do this, now you know precisely where to place your notes. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 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 1. Right? With this first and third note triplet thing on the metronome, you know precisely where your notes belong in relation to the beat. So work it out, pause the video, take a few minutes, really get this down so that you are absolutely nailing your swing feel. All right? Then press play when you're ready to keep going. Just want to drop in here for a moment and remind you, down in the description, there is a link to patreon.com/OutsmartYourGuitar. go on over to Patreon, Outsmart Your Guitar, and sign up and become a patron. In so doing, you'll be supporting my efforts to continue providing you with high quality lesson material. Additionally, you will gain access to lessons that are not available here, expanded versions of lessons that are available here, and all the written material. Sound good? All right, let's get back to the lesson. Before we get into playing any soloing bits, we need a progression over which we're going to solo. So here it is. It's a G minor 7, it's a C minor 7, an F7, and a G minor 7. Now, if you didn't go over part 1 of this, I encourage you to go back and go over it. Those of you who have, you'll notice we've got the metric modulation up there in the left corner, and that says this is a swung feel. Now we're playing straight quarters here, and you'll know that we have 1 and 2. We have that hesitation to get the swing feel, and you can flick the strings or not. It's up to you, right? So let me demonstrate the sound of the progression. 2, 3, 4. And that's the essence. And you notice I didn't really make a lot of noise on that uptick to get the swing feel into it. You're playing straight 4s, but with the swing feel. And you can feel, you can hear the swing because I'm suggesting the swing with my upstroke, just lightly flicking the strings on the hesitated end of the beat. All right? So pause the video and work this out. And, you know, put it in your looper at a comfortable speed, you know, maybe around 70 to 80 beats a minute, and see if you can play the melodies that follow at that tempo. If you're actually playing at a slower tempo, that's okay. Go ahead and re-record the rhythm at the tempo where you can actually play the melodies, all right? So go ahead and do that. And when you're ready to continue, you know what to do. Let's look at the first melody. As you can see, it's not real complicated. And in the first measure, you'll notice we start off with an 8th note rest. So 1 is silent, but the and of 1 is not. So you come in on the and of 1. So it would be 1 and 2. And, holding it over through 2 and, come back in on 3 and, hold it through 4 and, then 1 and, holding over 2, and then coming back in on the and of 2 and holding it over through 3 and 4. Again, first position. Now we're going to slide up to the 4th position on the and of 4, at the 12th fret on the 4th string. And 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, all 4th position, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, ending in the 3rd position. And then you're back to the beginning again. If you want, rewind and listen and watch the explanation, the walkthrough again, to get a more firm grip on it. You'll notice I've got the fingering laid out so that you understand. Like in the beginning of the second measure, we go from a 3rd to the 2nd finger, and that is to increase the flow or to preserve flow versus, and you might mess up moving your 3rd finger over. So go to your 2nd finger, you preserve flow. And the same thing occurs in the 4th measure. Same idea. You want that flow. This is done all the time, and it's a great little technique to embrace if you haven't already. All right, let me play through this and give you a sense of what you're going for. Now, I'm at 98 beats a minute, which is the fastest you want to play through this. But if you're not at 98, that's okay. Slower is quite all right. Here we go. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 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 and 2 and 3 and 4 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. So, as you listen to that, you'll notice all my notes are precisely where they belong. You'll notice I was counting over the top of that to make sure that my notes were right exactly where they're supposed to be, to help reinforce the swing feel that the rhythm is already established. We don't want to mess with that. We want our notes to be right on the money. Okay? So pause the video and go through this, work it out, find out what tempo you can play the whole melody at, and then record your rhythm track to your looper at that tempo, using the metronome to keep you firm and in place. All right? Then, after you've done that, play through the melody a few times. Get it down. Really dig into the swing. That's the whole idea here, right? Then, once you've got this down, go ahead and move to the next melody. This next melody, you really have to pay attention because it's going to challenge you. As you can see, there's a lot of rests, and that's silence. You don't hold notes over. You actually play them almost with a staccato feel. And half of this melody, over half of this melody, is and of the beat playing. All right, so let me walk you through. You start with 1, and keeping this in motion is really critical, and playing the and of the beat always with an upstroke, no matter what. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Okay? So if you need to, rewind and watch and pay attention to the fingering and to the pick motion. Don't do what feels right. Do this very strictly according to Hoyle. All and notes are played with an upstroke, particularly the and of 4 in the second measure, because that sets everything up for the end of the third into the fourth measures. All right? So here's what you're going for. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. And, whoops. 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 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 3 and 4 and 1. So you can hear this really swings, and you have to, as you can see, really work that upstroke properly to get this to play right. You will stumble less if you just stick with playing all and of the beats with upstrokes. Trust me on that, okay? So pause the video, play through it slow, get it down, and put it to a metronome. Now, if you got that metronome with the first and the third note of the triplet thing happening, you'll know exactly where to place those notes in the first and the third and the fourth measures. You'll know exactly where they go because it clicks for you. It's a great little device, okay? So, then, just work it out. Play it over your loop and get it down, all right? You will most appreciate the work you put in here because it will pay off in spades when you start playing swing songs. All right, there you have it, swinging in your lead playing or your solo playing. Now, what you can do with this last rhythm track is actually improvise over the top of it if you want. It's up to you. Another thing you can do is take the melody you just learned and put it to the metronome with that first and third note of the swing triplet sound happening. So you have tick, 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 tick. So you get your notes happening right where they're supposed to happen. That is a really wonderful tool to really help you get your swing swinging hard, right? And you'll really appreciate it if you don't gloss over any of this, but actually do all the work that I've recommended in the first and this second part of the series, because it's worth the time and the effort to learn to swing right, because you never know. You're going to be playing blues. It's got to shuffle, right? You're going to be playing maybe a little of jazz. It's got to swing. Again, it don't mean a thing if it ain't got that swing. No truer words have ever been spoken about the swing feel. All right, so that'll do for this one. Thank you so much for letting me be your teacher. I really appreciate it. And, you know, I got a lot more material. Check it out. And we'll see you there.